Hey folks, how are you doing today? Now, welcome to this live webinar where we are going to be focusing on launching your own podcast. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to have a selection of slides from the podcast launch guide, which is a whole online course that you can get. I'll put a link in the description in a bit for that if you want to check it out. And we're going to cover 10 different sections. So over the first half hour of this webinar, it's me presenting, giving you loads of information about those 10 different bits. Then it's down to you. If you've got any questions that you want to ask me, go for it. If you want to put questions into the chat as we go along, that's absolutely fine as well. But I'll answer them at the end in the Q&A. So basically, this webinar will be up to an hour long, depending on how many questions we have. But please, get involved. Let us know what stage you are in terms of launching your own podcast. Have you got a podcast? You just want a few more tips? Are you looking to launch a podcast next year as well, later on this year? Have you got it planned in that you are launching a podcast at this precise moment and you're in that kind of launch phase? Let us know. If you've got any technical blocks, let us know in the chat and discussions as well. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you for joining me. If you don't know me, my name is Gary Jones, and I'm the founder of Grow Radio. And I help people just like you, if you're watching, launch different podcasts. We do that in a number of different ways at Grow Radio. We have an online course, which is our most popular option. So you can just go away and you can just do it yourself in your own time. There's also one-to-one sessions that we can do. And if you want us to take hold of the launching itself rather than you, we can do that as well. So we can literally do from a hands-off point of view all the way through to a literally managed solution for you. But please let us know what stage you are in your podcasting journey. And I'm assuming if you're here, then you are looking to launch your own podcast. And if you're not, and you're just looking for general tips, there's going to be other webinars available to you throughout the year, which you can join us with. I'm just going to put my dog on the chair because this is real life, folks. So let's put that there. Okay, so let's get cracking. We've got half hour to cover 10 different tips. So first off, I want to talk to you about crafting your podcast idea. Now, your podcast idea is the most important thing you can focus your time and energy on. It really is. It doesn't matter about the equipment. It doesn't matter about the guests at this stage. It's about your idea. It's about what messages are you going to be sharing? What format is it going to do? What different aspects and what value are you going to give? Now, the value piece is important because you need to basically give value to 3 different types of people when you're considering launching a podcast. And launching a podcast based on these 3 values will help you craft your perfect podcast idea. You need it to give you value for yourself. So you need to give value for yourself. Now, to do that, you need to be energized and really be passionate about the podcast that you're going to be launching. You want to be really fired up about talking about these topics. You want to connect with these guests so badly that actually the podcast is just another way of connecting with different people. But you want to be passionate about it. You want to be fired up. And then that way, when times are tough, you haven't got much energy, or you're finding a bit of a slog, you carry it on because you've got that fire inside you. So you need to give value to yourself. You also need to give value to your community as well. Now, your community are the people who are listening. It is also the people who are going to be supporting your show. So maybe sharing your key messages, people inside your networks. And it's also going to be the people who you get involved in the show as well. So your guests, your team, if you've got a team as well. You know, all these people are really, really key to the success and long-term success of your podcast. You need to factor into your podcast idea how they're going to get value from it. So value for your community, as well as your team, as well as yourself. So they're the 3 different parts. But also, if it's a business-related podcast, as an extra one, you need to make sure that it gives value to the business as well. So when it comes to managing budgets or time allocations in your business, it's not just something extra that can kind of get floated off into the background and just stopped. It should be part of your marketing and business strategy going forward, and should be revisited at least once a month, so it's all relevant to your content that you're producing out. So it's got to give value to those 3 people, those 3 values. So crafting your podcast idea it is also about the name, the type, the music, what format the show is, and all that kind of stuff. But also, you've got to remember it's got to give value. Because if it doesn't, when times are tough, when your energy's low, it's going to be the first thing that goes. Next up is your podcast format. Now, typically, there's 5 different types of podcast formats out there, and most podcasts, probably say 99.9% of podcasts, will fall into 5 different formats. The main one that you'll find is the interview-based podcast, which is where you normally hear, as the name suggests, 2 people or more than 2 people having a chat. Now, this could range from being anywhere from 20 minutes all the way up to a couple of hours or 3+ hours if you're different people. But that's the most popular way of doing it. Now, the second most popular way is a solo podcast where you've just got one person talking. These are good for information. To be fair, I like mixing up the interview and the solo episodes as well, because you can have more than one format in your podcasts over the series. But you've got the interview and then you've got the solo. Solos, typically episodes are lower in duration. So they're normally anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes, could be half hour. But typically they're going to be a shorter episode. And you will find in those ones, it'll be crammed, packed full of tips and info, which is why it's always good to separate an interview where it's more of an informal chat, a bit longer, with a shorter, punchier solo episode. So if you think about your formats, think about those 2. You've also got other formats such as the events-based podcasts, where their duration is literally just for an event itself. You normally find these with particular TV shows which run for series. They might have a podcast that run alongside it to give backstage kind of hints. You might find it with sporting events as well. But an event series could be a good way of just pushing it into your podcast kind of structure if your audience is going to be suitable for kind of listening and enjoying it. Really, if you think they're going to enjoy it, put it in. And if you're thinking about a format as well, think about also this series. Think about if you're going to be running it ongoing or if it's going to be a series of podcasts. I always kind of get my people to, or my podcasters, to work in blocks of 12 episodes. Now, 12 is a really cool number when it comes to podcasting, because it can literally refer to 12. If you're doing a monthly podcast, you can do one a month. If you're doing a weekly podcast, you've got 12 weeks in a quarter. So you can see how actually the number 12 fits in quite well. So what you want to do is really work out what format you want your main episodes to be. And also if you want any other formats just to kind of be thrown in, just as and when, just to spice it up. Because what you don't want to do is have the same format over and over and over again. And your audience could get bored, you could get bored, and you just don't want that, not especially with all the stuff that's going on based around your chosen topic, which I'm sure there's going to be loads for you to talk about. You can easily mix it up. Now, the next point, which is all about the equipment, is probably the most... is probably the question I get asked the most, but it's probably the least important, because I started a podcast probably 12, 13 years ago now, even longer, with just a mobile phone. Now, it wasn't this mobile phone, it was a much older mobile phone, but I literally started it with me talking to different people and holding the microphone up, going like this. You don't need fancy equipment to start a podcast. That's the honest truth. You really don't need fancy equipment. You can literally start with what you've got, your bare bones, and then you can improve your equipment over time. So the essential equipment for podcasting are 3 different things. 1, you need something to record the actual episodes on, which could be your phone. It could be a microphone on your computer. It could be a USB mic that you put in. It could be a whole studio setup if you wanted to. Obviously, if you wanted to do video as well, you need to have something to record that video on as well. But again, we're talking about bare bones to start off with. So literally something to record the audio is all you need. Then you need something to maybe edit it on, which means you might need a computer, or again, you've got softwares on your phone that you'd be able to do that. And then you need somewhere to upload it to the internet to a podcast host, which will then share it to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all those different places where people listen to podcasts. Now, if you've listened correctly, you need something to record it on, you need something to kind of edit it on, make the episode, and then someone to share it. Now, those points 2 and 3 can be the same device. So in theory, you could have a podcast just by running it off your phone. Typically, you might have more software to kind of run with that, and the software is a different ball game. You might need an editing software. If you're adding video in, you need to have that as well. You've got all these little bits you do, but essentially you just need 3 things: something to record it on, something to create it on, and something to share it on. It's nice and simple. But people get massively hung up on this bit and don't start it because they think it's going to cost thousands of pounds to do. It's not. Most podcasts are run on a very, very tight budget, so either free or minimal costs. So therefore, when it comes to actually putting your time and energy in, focus on the idea and not the equipment. Just make sure you've got the scope to improve if you want to, because you can spend, and this is the truth, you can spend £1,000 on a recording system with a couple of mics, with a whole studio. And if you don't like doing a podcast, or after 3 months you have to move or stop the podcast for whatever reason, that stuff's just going to go it's just going to go dusty. It's just going to sit in the corner going dusty, or it's just going to be moved to a place and sit in a cardboard box. So you might as well make a start on it and then improve your equipment over time. Now, I would say there's a minimum kind of standard you need to have. So you need to make sure that actually the audio quality is decent, which if you've got a mobile phone or a dictaphone or a USB mic on a computer, it'll be absolutely fine. Make sure that background noise behind you is actually okay. So it's in a nice quiet environment like this, rather than a loud coffee shop. So you can still hear the voices. So there are minimum stuff you need to kind of make sure you do. But with enough planning, you don't have to worry about the equipment as much. So that's what I'm going to say about the equipment for now, because there's other stuff I want to talk about and focus on. But if you've got any questions about what type of equipment you want, or if you've got any questions about the equipment, again, please put them into the comments below. And if I don't see your comments, I will go back and answer them either in the Q&A or after this webinar. All right, next bit is all about naming your podcast. Okay, so this is where it's quite, again, people get hung up on the name, but equally the name can change at any point in time. The name shouldn't be massively overcomplicated. If it's linked to your business, ideally it should have a business name in, but more importantly, it shouldn't be any more than 4 to 5 words long. It doesn't have to include the word "the" in either. Some people think it has to have "the" in the title. It doesn't. Doesn't have to at all, but normally around 3 to 4 words long, could include your business. That would work really, really well. If it's for a community, it could be a name or contain a word that's related to that community. That's also a good way to bring brand recognition and for you to make your podcast unique to that particular topic or community. But keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it something that you're really happy saying. 3 to 4 words long is quite simple for you to kind of throw it out there. It's easy to write. If there's any kind of barriers for people to find your podcast using that name, consider that. But typically, most people will find your podcast by seeing it on social media or having it referred to by a friend or colleague or someone else in their community. iTunes, so it's like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, they all have organic ways of search engines where you can search for different ones, but they not typically only work for the top percentile of the podcasts with the massive kind of listener base. If you're starting a podcast, you're not going to have a massive base to start off with. You can have a small base, and that's going to grow over time. So naming your podcast is important. Keep it to 3 to 4 words long, but you can always change it after a while. I've got podcasters who rebrand after every 100 episodes, and that works for them because, frankly, their businesses move and their communities move on over that time. Think about it. If you're releasing a podcast and you're going weekly in terms of your frequency, your business after 100 episodes, which will be 2 years, could be different to what it was when it started. So therefore, you might want to rebrand it anyway. So don't worry about the names too much, but keep it short, sharp, snappy, and make it relevant to your topic all your community. Next up is finding the perfect music for your podcast. Now, the main thing with this is keep it free and make sure, keep it as low cost as possible, because you only use music in a couple of different places. I'll go on to where you'll use music in a second, and make sure wherever you get the royalties for it as well. Now, there's a couple of websites that I would recommend, and I'm just going to get one up here because I didn't actually get it out in a second. I didn't find it before, which is my bad. The one I personally use is a site called Upbeat.io. I'm just going to put that into the comments there. So make sure it's as low cost as possible and get the royalties for it, so therefore you can use it and the artist isn't penalized. But what you want to do is you want to line up your music with the style and the style of the podcast. You want it to reflect the mood, you want to reflect the kind of tone, and you want to make it just nice and simple and make it part of it. For instance, you wouldn't have a horror or true crime podcast with a very jingly jangly summary kind of theme tune. Potentially you might want to make it a bit more darker. It's about making it relevant to the show. Now, where you place the music is up to you, but there's normally two main places where you'll hear a bit of music, jingly bits in between it. Normally it's going to be at the start and the end, which is going to be a longer piece of music, and that will probably be below someone talking, so giving a general intro and then thanking people and kind of relevant different stuff afterwards. And you probably use that music as well for underneath any adverts as well to break it up. And then the second way you'd use music is little jingles in between it. These are going from one section to another section, or going from the interview into adverts into the interview again. They could be called idents and all that kind of stuff if you wanted to call them by the official name. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that these musical notation parts are consistent all the way through your episodes. So there's no need to have one episode as one music and then the next episode to be a different music and then the next episode to be the following music. Just keep it the same, which is why choosing the perfect music is really important at the start. Again, this can change any time, so you're in complete control of this. And to be fair, the music just adds a little bit of more professionalism into the podcast as well. But don't get hung up too much on it as well. This all goes into the main central idea, but again, you can change it afterwards. And again, if you want to go for a rebrand at any time, you can change the music at that time. It's a great time to change it as well. So for me, music is important. You've got two parts to it, and just make sure that you're paying your dues for it and the artist isn't being penalized. Next one, it's not working. Right, next one is your podcast artwork and meeting requirements. Now, I put this in because, again, this is part of podcasting, but it's always a part of marketing as well. Because what you want to do is you want to make sure that people know your podcast when they see even just a small proportion of the graphic. So you want to use the same colors and the same branding, the same fonts and the same text as what you would do with other things in this environment. So if it's for a business podcast, then you would have the same colors of branding and all that kind of stuff as you would do for the business. So they can recognize your business and your podcast are one of the same. Again, your community part will kind of do that as well. People will do this with the music as well, but obviously they'll do it with their ears rather than visual. So when you design your artwork, make sure, first of all, you're using the same branding as what you've already got. Second of all, there's loads of templates out there now available, so you can make your own designs. So you can go to a graphic designer who can create your bespoke piece, and that's brilliant. That's what I did with all my Grow Radio kind of branding. I went to a designer and he designed everything around it, even to the slides that you can see there, and also the Grow Radio logo itself. All of that's been designed. But that's what I want to do for my project. You don't have to do that. You can do that using tools like Canva, where you've got presets, templates that you can use. So when you design your artwork, use those templates if you want to. for me, when you design artwork for podcasts, there's 3 different types of artwork you can create. There's the main profile picture, which is nice and simple, should be nice and clear. Don't need any small details because they will get lost, because you're going to literally have a screen which is really small to see. So for instance, if I go onto my libraries, you're looking at a screen like that, which is as big. Now, if I click on this one, you can see you've got the title just there. You've got nice large letters just there. And the small details gets lost. So don't worry about the small details whatsoever. Just keep it big. Keep it nice and vibrant as well. And then when it comes to the meeting requirement side of it, sorry, I've gone past one point. So you've got the main profile picture. Then you could have number 2, the second part to the artwork. You could have separate pictures for each of the episodes. Now, each of these episodes would be in the same kind of vein as the main profile picture, so it all keeps uniform. But if you've got a guest, it might have a guest picture on it. I would say if you've got a guest, include their picture on it if they're happy with it, because they're going to more likely to be they're more likely going to share it if it's got their picture on it, and it also shows that you've got a guest to your outside audience. It might have an episode number, it might have a title, bits like that. It's absolutely fine with the episode graphics, because they're normally shared on social media as well. So therefore, they can have more information because you're going to be looking at them on a larger screen. And then you've got the main kind of banner. So on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook pages, Instagram pages, wherever you've got wherever you showcase your podcast, you've got obviously a banner at the top there or cover. You could create one for your podcast to fit on there as well. They're the 3 different types. The profile picture, the cover doesn't really change, but the episode ones would change as you go along. Now, if you've got a guest on there, send them all of these so they can change theirs if they want to. They can share the episode graphic if they want to when it appears. Most of them are going to be square, so you've got square profile image. You've got the episodes can be either slight portrait or square, and then the banner cover is obviously landscape. I've put meeting requirements in there because on the course it goes into details about the Apple Podcast graphic requirements. I'm not going to go too much into those, but you just need to make sure that you do click on the when you're uploading the graphics into the podcast host, you have got it on a high enough resolution, small enough file, high enough resolution, so therefore the platforms work well with them and they verify them, but not too big a file size for the podcast host to say no. That's all I'm going to say about meeting requirements on this one here. It's a minefield, but it's easy to get right if you follow the instructions which are on each of the podcast hosts. As I've already mentioned, working in blocks of 12 episodes is great. So what I would recommend at this stage, when you're crafting the idea, when you're figuring out things in terms of this, launching a podcast, you plan in 12 blocks. Plan in 12 blocks, 3 months to a year, one a week, one every 2 weeks, all that kind of stuff. It works. It works really, really well. And if you plan in 12, you'll be able to start to see themes. And you'll start to see how one episode could link to the next episode, which links to the episode. If you've got monthly themes in your business or in your communities, then you could always incorporate those themes into your podcast. So January will be one theme, February will be the next theme, for instance. Equally, if you've got special days or special celebrations that your community will be kind of gathering around, again, put those into your podcast. But always have it on a rotating, no, that's the wrong word, a constant 12-week kind of revolution. I can't remember the word. Revolution, Ian. Rotation. Sorry, thank you. Thank you. You can tell I'm a bit rusty, can't you? It's 7th of January, first one of the year. On a rotation. So with those, you've always planning for the next 12 episodes. You also can see if you need any guests coming up. Quite frankly, you can change the schedule if you want to. So if you've got a guest but they haven't turned up, you can put out a solo episode instead, or record a solo episode if the guest hasn't turned up. You've got that flexibility, and then that way also you haven't got the dread of what the hell am I going to put out that week if you've always working on a 12-week or a 12 episode kind of block. Now, if you're doing a monthly podcast, that might not really be an issue because you've got, as long as you've got enough content and you've got maybe 2 or 3 episodes ahead, you're fine. But if you're working on a weekly or a fortnightly frequency, then actually having a block of 12 works really, really well. Also, 99% of podcasts don't get to 12 episodes. There's only a very, very small percentage of people, maybe not 99, could be 98 now, around that figure, but a very small percentage of podcasts don't get to the 12 episode mark. So by even planning your first 12 and getting past that stage and going into your second 12, you're going to be ahead on a lot of people. So honestly, folks, don't plan just for a couple of episodes ahead. Plan for 12. You'll be absolutely fine. Now, to get your podcast onto Spotify and other platforms, it is really simple. You need to put your podcast into a podcast host. Now, these are places like Spotify, creators for Spotify, like Buzzsprout, Buzzsprout, like Libsyn, like Audio Boom, like Podbean. All of these places are a place where you put your podcast into it, and it houses your podcast. It will then send your podcast to all the different places: the Spotify, the Amazon Music, the Apple Podcast, and all those different places, which will save you a hell of a lot of time. You don't have to input it into 7 different places. You put it into one, and then that shares it from there. The one that I prefer to use is Podbean. I use it for nearly all my clients, and it's really simple to use. It costs around $8, $9 a month. So it's an ongoing cost. If you don't release any episodes, you can put it as an archive, so you can drop the price right down. But it means that you got analytics, so you can tell where people are listening. You can make all those links really, really simple. And then once you've loaded an episode, it takes about 48 hours for it. Well, once you've uploaded your first episode onto most of those platforms, within the first 48 hours, it's normally on there. And then it takes literally up to 40 odd minutes, maybe an hour, for you to upload an episode after that. So it's really simple to use, but you need a podcast host. Now, there are podcast hosts out there which are free, which will be a little bit more tricky to do, tricky to kind of make those links because they are free, but they are available. So there's a free option and there's also a paid for option. For me, going to someone like Podbean is definitely the easiest way of doing it, and it means that actually I know those links are set up. I've got the confidence that my podcast will be uploaded onto Apple Podcasts, for instance, when I want it to. So yeah, getting on to put your podcast into Spotify and other platforms is quite simple. You've got a podcast host. You do need a Apple Podcast separate license as well, which again is free. You just need to set it up, put your email address in, and then you can link the RSS code from there. But it is literally a case of copying the code from your podcast host into the platform, and job done. It really is quite simple. Last bit, or second to last bit, is all about crafting comprehensive show notes. Now, show notes are one of those things that some people look at and some people don't. It's proper 50-50 in terms of people do like them or not. I'd say put them in there because it does give value to the people who do read them. And it's a good place to put a little bit of description about what your podcast is going to be about, any links that you want to share, any blurb that you want to kind of try to maybe sell to people as well or make them aware of. But then also, if you've got a guest, this is a great opportunity for the guest to put a bit of a bio in, maybe some key points about what they're talking about and links for them. So for guests, it's really important, and it's really cool for the guests to have their details shared on your platforms. Again, you put all this information into the podcast host, and then that's uploaded with the episode so you can see it on the different platforms. So that's where you kind of upload it, as well as the episode graphic if you want to, which again is why the podcast host is so important. But the show notes, they are less important than they were 5 years ago. Whether they'll come back into vogue and everyone will start reading them, I don't know. I don't typically look at show notes, but I know other people who do. So I would say it's definitely important, But again, just like most things in here, you can change them at any point in time. And then really for the launch day checklist, you want to be as prepared as possible. You want to make sure that actually on the launch day, you've got all your bases covered and you're marketing it as much as you can. You're creating videos for TikTok and Instagram stories to tell people that it's live. You're sharing the episode details, where people can listen to it, share actual links so people can just click on it and it will take it to the place where they can listen to it. Include links to Spotify, to Amazon Music, to Apple Podcasts, to YouTube if you've got it on YouTube as well. Just so if you are sharing it on, let's say LinkedIn, for instance, and someone listens to it on Apple Podcasts and you just share the Spotify link, they'll still listen to it, because people have their preferred way of listening to podcasts. People have their preferred way of listening to where to listen to podcasts. So some people are diehard Apple Podcasts, some people are diehard Spotify, some people love a mix of them depending on what it is. But mainly, share all the links as possible. If you've got guests, share the graphics, share the links with them as well, tag them into posts, really go to town on the marketing. Because what you want on launch day is you want it to be a big surge of listeners. Now, what to expect is you do all that and you get loads of listeners. Truth is, you probably won't right at the start, because you're only sharing it to your community. And what you want to do is you want to get outside of your community, which takes time and energy. So if you've got a big community, it's going to be an easier job for you. But if you've got a small community, it's going to take more time. So expect to do loads of work at the start, and then it's a fizzle out a little bit. But if you keep the momentum going, those early episodes will be your best performing episodes, because if someone catches you and loves your podcast and you've released 20 odd episodes, guess what they'll do? They'll go back to the start and listen from the start at some point. And so those early episodes, I can guarantee, will always be one of the best performing episodes, unless you've suddenly taken off at one point in time, and then therefore it might be more even. For me, the launch day is about getting your message out there to not just everywhere where you can, but more importantly, to where your target audiences is. So have a think about that. If it means getting it in the press, in the local papers or in the national papers, do it. Groups, forums, online, put it in there. Anywhere where you think your target audience, your community is, put it in there. But don't expect massive fireworks to start off with. That will come later. You want to kick it off, start it, and then it will build from there. That's where using social media for podcast promotion is so important. Social media, it's a free tool. So use a mix of kind of videos, graphics and links, all that kind of stuff, live interviews, do follow-up interviews with the guests if you've got time. But really, don't just think launching one bit and then doing nothing until the next episode goes out. It won't really help you do anything when it comes to marketing. You need a constant source of kind of drip feeding the information out to them. So think of kind of questions you can ask if people listen to the shows. That could also be social media fodder, but utilize the graphics that you've got and just keep it going. Just keep it going, folks. But also, you need to congratulate yourself on launching a podcast. It's not that many people who launch a podcast, so you are definitely in the minority. So please congratulate yourself, put a pat on your back, celebrate a little bit. But remember, it's the start. It's the start of a journey, and then the build carries on. Remember, if you planned in a block of 12, you've got literally you're one step away from you step one from 12 to finish off that block until you're into the next one. So you have got a way to go, but still celebrate it and go from there. I think, to be fair, that is it in terms of the questions, in terms of the actual webinar itself. I've gone over a little bit, but I've covered a hell of a lot of information. Now, you can find more information about Podcast Launch Guide just here, which is the actual course as well, which I'm just going to put a note in here for you to take a look at. It's worth it if you want to launch a podcast. It goes into a lot more details. So if you did want to do that, go for it. And also in conjunction with that, I've also got on LinkedIn as well my free newsletter, which please subscribe to it. It's free. But I'm talking about if you could launch in a podcast over 21 days, and I'm breaking it down into each different step from there. So now I'm into the questions and answer session. So if you've got any questions or answers at all, these are some of the other courses we've got, then please ask away. If you've got any questions, please put them into the comments below. Now, I can see that YouTube and StreamYard are pushing through comments, but LinkedIn aren't. So I'm just going to pop onto LinkedIn to see if there is any questions at all. But please put them down there, put them into the comments below. Right, let's just go on to LinkedIn and see if there's any comments. And it comes up with the correct subtitles at the same time, which is quite cool. So I'm actually watching it on LinkedIn. There's no comments on there, which is quite cool. So if you've got any questions, please put them in there. Some of the other questions I get asked, just while I am thinking, let's have a little look what else we've got. A good way of marketing your show is using clips. So you can if you've got a video podcast, you can separate and share different clips of the episodes on, well, pretty much most platforms now will have a shorts or clips kind of area. It could be stories on Instagram, it could be TikTok, it could be Facebook stories, it could be LinkedIn as a post, but do a portrait. But typically these are going to be portrait videos, and they're going to be anywhere between 30 seconds to 3 minutes long. Normally between 30 seconds and 90 seconds is the general consensus for clips when it comes to good timing. And good thing about clips is you can use online platforms, AI platforms, to create these. You can put your episode in, and then therefore they will then split it up into these different clips. So from a 45-minute episode, you might be able to get 20 odd clips. Now, those clips will give you social media content for days and days and days. You know, that's going to be golden for you. And it's a good way to repurpose that content. Now, if you are looking to do video on, and you're looking to bring guests in, there are a number of different platforms you can use to do that as well. You can use StreamYard, which is what I'm using today. So this is StreamYard. You can change the different kind of layouts. So if you've got a guest, you can change them out, and you can change different formats you've got there. So you can change it around. You can put these little banners down the bottom there. You can change the name and you can put screens on there. It's quite cool. It's quite a nice, easy way to use it. So I like StreamYard. The truth is, you could also use places like software like Zoom and Google Teams to do that. I don't have great success with Google Teams when it comes to recording the audio. I think the audio can be a bit patchy with Google Teams. But hey, that's just Teams. It is Google Teams, not Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams, even. Microsoft Teams. Zoom, better. You record separate audio tracks, so you have got a bit more editing kind of. Yeah, you can do a little bit more with the editing. But again, at the start, you can start off with Zoom. You can go to somewhere like StreamYard if you want. Another one to check out is somewhere like Riverside as well. Riverside.fm is a really good way of recording and also editing and hosting your show. There's also podcasts as well. There's loads out there. There's loads of places where you can record your podcast. It just depends on where you want to go for. So the question so far we've answered is about video. Obviously, when you're recording video, you want to make sure that actually it's decent quality as well. So therefore, you've got the good camera. You might need to buy an external USB camera, which kind of fits onto your laptop, or record it. You know, these phones now record in 4K, so you can just use your phones. Expect massive file sizes if you do that, but hey, it works. I've got no more questions. So if you've got any more questions, please let me know. There's no other questions there. There's not. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes. just to let you know, there are other courses available. At the moment, there's a podcasting for children's activity providers. If you're looking to become a guest on a podcast, there's also this one here, which we split being a guest into just under 40 different units. And obviously, there's the podcasting toolkit as well, which brings it all together. And this year, I've got a few more launching as well. There's also the beginner's guide to podcasting, which splits up into the 5 different ways you can get involved with podcasting. That will be launched in February, March time. You've got podcasting for authors as well, which is a mini course, only 10 units long, but gives you packed full information. If you're an author looking to use podcasting as a way of promoting your book or your series, that's a great way of doing it. Then coming later on in the year will be keeping your podcast alive and thriving. So if you've got a podcast already and you're looking for tips and tricks of how to keep it going and changing it up, but keeping it still original to the main idea, that's a great way to do that. So they're the courses which are coming up in the future. Okay, I've got no more questions at all. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to call it there. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. If you're watching on LinkedIn, connect with me. If you're watching it somewhere else, please follow the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you watch on StreamYard, thank you very much. And for everyone watching, take care, have a good day, and I will see you soon.